All right, y'all. How y'all doing? I don't know if you've been enjoying all this rain like I have, but I tell you what, my lawn has shot up. It is shot up. I think I've cut that thing like 3 times this week. But it's happy. I'm happy to be out there seeing that grass grow. So it's better than having that 150 heat coming through here. So I'm glad to have that rain coming through to cool some things off a little bit. But I'm also excited to be back on the mic. It's been a minute since I've been here, but I'm so glad to be back here to be on this mic, just say some stuff. It's been really interesting the way so many things have been going on and to see the way the world is turning now. And I'm just remembering, man, I wish we could just go back to the ice cream man coming through the neighborhood and, out playing ball in the middle of the street and catching lightning bugs and just enjoying life. I know those days are gone. I know they're gone. They're not coming back, even though the ice cream man do come through my neighborhood. And I really don't know why he do it sometimes. I mean, it'd be like late at night he be coming through there. I'm like, man, ain't nobody out this late. My man has got me nah, you good, you good. But he also comes through early in the morning too. My ice cream man, he comes through early in the morning. I don't know what that's about. But I don't know. Just trying to go back to those days, just remember growing up when things were just really cool. I wish we could go back to that, but I know we won't. But that's cool though. So I'm trying to make memories with my kids and my family. And so that's been super fun. So today, man, we just gonna have a real quick conversation. We're not gonna really sugarcoat it all. I wouldn't even say sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna say we just gonna get right to it. Uh, I mean, I'm a parent. I've been a parent for the last. Let me see. My oldest son is 19 now, so I've been a parent for the last 19 years, and it's been fun. Let me say that it's been fun. I know a lot of times when parents get together and we talk about our kids, it's always about what they're not doing and all the expectations that we had that they're not living up to and all the problems and the pains that they're taking us through. But I told a friend the other day we was having a conversation and we was kind of running through that whole gamut of what they're doing, what they're not doing, how they're not meeting expectations and the heartache and the pain and all the stuff they're taking us through, which look, I'm not going to deny that stuff can be tough. But, I asked him, I said, man, we probably need to try to redo this thing. Like, what's the fun out of being a parent? What's the fun of, I know when they're little from that 0 to, let's say 0 to 8 or 9, there's a lot of fun. I mean, a whole lot of fun. But when they begin to get 8, 9, 10, 11, we kind of forget about that. We kind of put that to the side, and now it's rules, there's regulations, there's expectations, which I'm not saying we should ever stop having those. But what about the fun of being a parent? I know there's trouble coming with our kids, and I wish I could remember. I wish I could remember the all the lyrics to the Frankie Beverly and Maze. As said, there's sunshine and rain. It's going to be some good times. There's going to be some bad times. But I want to focus on just being a parent. Just being a parent, like, what does that look like to be a parent? And I know there's different types of parents, and I know everybody have their own opinions about parenting. And some people say, well, let them do this or let them do that, and some people say, well, don't let them do this and don't let them do that. But how can we just figure out how to just be a parent? Can we just figure out how to be a parent, and how can we have the joys of being a parent? So for the last couple of weeks, I'm gonna just say maybe about for the last month, God has really been challenging my parenting skills. I'm telling you, he's been really challenging my parenting skills with my kids. And so, even in the midst of the things that we've been having going on in our home, God is still reminding me, there's joy in being a parent because, you know, we just got to continue to know that those kids or our children, I didn't even say those kids. Look, I don't even what I'll call them those kids, but our children are a gift from God, and so sometimes we do get frustrated with them, but we have to remind ourselves that they are a gift and we need to enjoy them. I mean, I enjoy getting gifts. I mean, if anybody want to lay some gifts on me, I most definitely would take them, especially if it has chocolate in it. If it's chocolate or it's a carrot cake or something like that, I'm down for it. I'm with it. But I enjoy gifts, and my children are a gift. And now sometimes, we don't always agree on everything, but you know what? I still have joy in my kids. All right, so listen, I saw this little thing the other day, and it says everybody knows how to raise children except the people who have them. Isn't that kind of funny? Like everybody want to tell me how to be a parent, and it's always those who don't have no kids that want to tell me how to parent. So I've been a parent for 19 years, you know, until you get some kids. And I've heard comedians and I've heard other people say the same thing. You know, it's always easy to tell people what to do when you ain't doing it. But when you are a parent, man, you know, I've read a lot of books. I read a lot of books on parenting. I've researched a lot about parenting. I've talked to a lot of parents. And here's one thing that I found out. Yeah, none of us really know how to do this thing. I found out none of us really know how to do this thing, because whatever works with my kids most definitely is not going to work with your kids, and vice versa. But one thing that is for true, that is that, you know, we're all in this thing together, and we're all fighting together, and we're all trying to find the joys and pleasures of this whole thing. But man, it can be challenging. But here's one thing I want to say is, what is our role as parents to our children, our family, and our community? You know, because that's the one thing, you know, we really try to focus on is the youth, family, and community. So as a parent, what is our role to our children, our family, and our community? And I know I speak on this a lot. And I think one of the reasons why I speak on this a lot is because I see a lot of families that just, you know, sometimes they just kind of not really try to make it work, you know, and there's more arguing and fussing and fighting within our families than it is love, understanding, peace, grace, and mercy. And so I'm like, man, how can I parent in a way that, you know, my kids not only know that, you know, I'm dad, but also understand that I love them, you know, and how can I also parent in a way that my whole family understands that, you know, we are a family. You know, we're not individuals living in a house together, but we are a family. And so I really try to, you know, examine that, like even for myself. You know, I really try to examine it, to like, you know, what does it look like really to be a family? What does it look like to really be a parent? So, you know, sometimes, you know, even in the midst of this conversation that I'm having, and even though I'm putting this out there, I'm still not an expert on it. And I still don't really have all the answers. I just want to, you know, bring a different perspective or a different view on parenting, and just see what y'all think about that, you know, because I know I'm not going to be right on all this that I'm going to talk about today, but I just felt like these last couple of weeks, God has just been reminding me, what's the joy? What is the joy of being a parent? And you know, my wife would tell you, when our kids were small, she loved, you know, giving them the bath and changing the diaper and just having them, you know, rest on her shoulder, and you know, mama pick me up, and you know, and all those types of things. And she got to feed them and pick their clothes out, and you know, that they just loved on you, like you was just everything. And I had that same thing, because at a certain time, you know, I think I'm gonna say anywhere between that 3 to 5 year old, maybe even 6. I'm gonna go as far as 6. That, you know, dad is superhero. You know, dad can do no wrong. He's the strongest man in the world, and there's nobody like my daddy. I love my daddy, but yeah, then sooner or later, all that stuff gets reversed. And so, and I think because of that, we as parents, and let me just say me, sometimes we can look at that differently, because now they see you differently. So now those roles begin to change just a little bit. And now we go from just looking at them and ooh and eyeing and just enjoying that time, to now it's time to make some stands. Like it's time to start saying, you know, this is not what we gonna do. This is what we will accept. This is what we not gonna accept. And sometimes as parents, we have to make a stand with our children, but it's only making a stand to remind them. And here's the 3 things that I have, and you may think of something different, but I think as parents, we need to make a stand with our children to remind them of 3 things. Number one, first, we love them. I mean, I love my children. I love my children more than anything. And I don't just love with words, I love with action, because a lot of times we say we love, we love, we love, we love, but our actions don't line up with that. So, first, we need to remind them that we love them. Secondly, I want to remind my children that I do want the best for them. I really do. I want my children to have the best. That's why we work as hard as we do. That's why as parents we sacrifice the way we do, because we want our kids to have the best. I don't think I've met any parent who doesn't want to see their children do better than them. I mean, I know y'all have heard that, and y'all have heard that time and time again. I don't think I've met one. I think every parent that I've talked to really want their kids to do better than them. So first, I want them to know that I love them. Secondly, I want them to know that I want the best for them. And third, I want to see them shine. Like, dude, I want to see you go do your thing. And whatever your thing is, I want to be there to support you for it. I don't want to put you in the shadows and not let you go do your thing. I want you to be able to go do your thing. But in order to get to your thing, there are some things that has to be in place. And sometimes making those decisions for our kids, it's not that easy, because what I'm learning is that they are learning too. We talked about that 11th hour. So they're in their 11th hour too, because they're trying to make some decisions too, because they get around new friends and they hear things, and now they look at parenting different, and they don't see daddy as a superhero no more. Daddy becomes the villain. You know what I'm saying? Now he's the villain. He won't let me do this. He won't let me do that. And especially if it's a young man, I have two sons, and we butt heads a little bit because he's trying to, walk into his manhood, or he's trying to understand what that manhood looks like for him. But I'm already walking in manhood, so I already know what it looks like. And so, we're having this discussion, and, we're kind of going back and forth, and so he's trying to make his decision. And so now mama goes from being that, that sweet, loving, oh, that's my mama, to now she's overprotective. Like, mama, you doing too much. Like, back up, mama, back up, So now she's dealing with, having to, I guess what's those saying, kind of letting the bird go a little bit, that let him be a little more free, that, she's not picking out the clothes anymore. She's not choosing the food anymore, and I remember my wife talked about that on one of the shows that I had, that, now her role has been diminished a little bit. But God just kind of remind me, it's not that our roles have been diminished, it's that our roles have been changed. It's like, I'm not that superhero no more. Now I'm just the one who's trying to teach my sons how to be superheroes, and sometimes even for the parent, that's hard. That's tough, because that means I got to step back and not lead now. But you know what? I'm still going to make some stands on some things, so making a stand sometimes require us as parents to make tough decisions that they're not going to like, and they may even push back on. But you know what? I'm still going to stand on it, like, because I need to teach you that, whatever you want and whatever you need to do, you need to make a stand on it. But my stance should not bring about, I'm going to say it like this: our stance should not bring about issues and problems, but I should be able to make my stance with my children in a way that, first, they know that I love them. Secondly, they know I want the best for them. And thirdly, that I want to see them shine. But listen. I tell my sons all the time, listen, hey, this is the way life is. I mean, everything's not going to always go your way. Everything is not going to always work out the way you want it to work out. There's going to be some pushback, because if you can learn how to have pushback with me and let it be okay, then I guarantee you, when you have pushback, when you get outside of this house, you have learned how to deal with that. And sometimes that's not easy, but if you just allow me to help you in that, man, I'm just telling you how much easier it could be for you. And just let them know it's okay for you to have pushback. Like, me and my sons, we don't agree with everything. And me and my daughter, we don't agree with everything, which is cool. I have no problem with that. I always tell my kids, it's okay for us to agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, we got to learn how to have conversations, because when you were younger, there was not a lot of conversations going on. It was just like, I was just telling you what to do. Like, pick that up, pick this up, do this or do that. Or, you're not going here, you're not going there, you wearing this. I was able to dictate pretty much everything that you did. But now that you are older, you want to make some decisions. So I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not going to tell you not this and not that, but we need to be able to have an adult conversation, because in the same frame, I tell my kids all the time, in the same frame that I would tell any parent, that, those are some of the keys that we look for when our children are matured. Is like, can we hold a conversation? Like, can we just hold a conversation without you getting mad or me getting mad? Can we not just sit and talk and just, you know, figure out what's going on that will make us both happy, you know? And so it's okay for them to push back. Actually, I want them to push back because it makes me grow. Because, you know, now I have to figure out, you know, what works, because, you know, what used to work ain't working no more. And so as a parent, that's the fun. Like, y'all, listen, I'm telling y'all, like, that's the fun of parenting, that you get to figure out what works with your kids. Like, I almost see it as a game, you know, and y'all probably say, dude, you crazy. Like, what you talking about? Like, I really do. I really see it as a game. Like, you know, how can I communicate with my kids in a way that, you know, we're not all getting upset and we throwing chairs and screaming and hollering around the house and, you know, things going crazy. Now I'm gonna be honest, everything don't always go perfect. I mean, I realize that everything is not gonna go perfect, but my goal is to say, how can we have conversations? So, you know, what may have worked with my daughter last year probably is not going to work this year because, oh, yeah, today's the first day of school, man. She's a freshman. She's a freshman in high school. And then my second son, he is a senior in high school. So, you know, I got one coming in the door and one getting ready to walk out the door. And I got one that's already out of the door and he's out trying to do his thing. So, you know, like my oldest son, he's out doing his thing now. So I can't parent him like when he was a freshman in high school. I just can't do that. So that's the fun of parenting. That's what I believe. So let me just say that that's what I believe. That's the fun of parenting because, you know, figuring these things out is super cool. And God is just really showing me how that really works. So, you know, as long as we love them and tell them, hey, look, it's okay for you to push back, but let me help you understand the reasoning for my process. You know, you know, especially when I was growing up. Now the eras are different, and I can imagine how it was even worse before my era. But I at least know when I was growing up, you know, we didn't have much to say about anything, and I don't even care what age you was, you just didn't say nothing. You know, you just did what your family told you to do or what your mama or your daddy told you to do, and that was just it. But now I think it's a little bit different because our kids are different and they can access stuff a little bit different. You know, a lot of times they don't even want to come to you anyway. They just go straight to their phones and Google it and figure out what Google got to say about stuff. But Google can't tell you what's going on in my house, you know, and Google can't tell you how that I need to parent you. You know, they can't do that. But you know, so that means we have to have conversations. Like we have to talk to our kids and we have to sometimes, you know, just help them through the process. You know, it's okay to give them the reasons why you're doing stuff. You know, my mom used to be like, because I said so. Now I'm not saying sometimes you got to do that, but you know, most of the time it doesn't hurt for you to sit there and just explain, you know, why you're doing the things you're doing and what's the reason why, you know, especially with social media and especially with going places, especially nowadays. You know, we're so worried about our kids, about wherever they're going with all these things that are happening in the world today. So, you know, our kids sometimes they can be oblivious. You know, they really don't really understand what's going on in the world today. But, you know, sometimes we just have to remind them, like, you know, it's not like it. Listen, the world ain't even the way it used to be 10 years ago. So we have to remind our kids how times are changing. And it's not that I don't want you going somewhere, is that my concern for you going somewhere has went from a 2 to a 10. And so if it's went from a 2 to a 10, yeah, we need to have a conversation about that. And I need to get you to understand this is the reason why we're doing things this way. I know it sounds crazy. I know you may not get it. I know you may not understand it, but that's why we're doing it this way. And here's what I say, they still may not get it. They still may not get it. They still may just say, well, I still want to go do it. Listen, if you just stand on that, if you just stand on what you say, trust me, the process of going through that is going to be a whole lot easier than just giving in because they just want you to give in. I think if we don't give in, but also teach them, like I said, about the three things that we really want to teach them, I think we can make it through it. You know, uh, to make a stand, I looked this up and it said is to have an attitude toward a particular issue, to take position in an argument, to have or maintain an upright position, to support one's feet. Listen, it's a little bit easier when you have two parents. When you have a mom and a dad, they can get on one accord, and then the kids can't team up on one of them because you got the other one that's backing them. But it's a little bit harder when you're by yourself. So I get that. So I'm not going to argue too much about that. But even when you're by yourself, you still got to make your stand, but you could still make your stand in a way that we can have a great conversation about it. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, that's one of the things I love about my mom. I'm telling you, there was now I'm gonna be honest. Now there was times when she wasn't having no conversation. No, her conversations was with the belt and the switch. That was her conversation. There was sometimes it was there, but most of the time, my mom would have conversations with us. And that's one thing about I really understand is that a lot of times we parent like we were parented. So we take a lot of how we grew up and how we were parented, and we bring a lot of that influence into our parenting, which is okay and cool. But what I'm learning is like sometimes those things can be a problem, because how my mom parent me is I can't parent my kids in the same way, because one, they're not me, and two, I'm not my mom, and three, the generations are different. Like they're just different. So we have to look at all of those. But I do know, and I do understand that. But when my kids know that I'm taking a stand on something, like this is where I make my stand. Like we're not gonna do that. Like that's not what we do here. And if you don't understand that, let's have some conversation. Let's talk about it. I want to hear your point of view. I really do. I want to hear what you have to say, because you could possibly educate me on something that I don't know. But even if you do educate me on something that I don't know, as a family, this is what we go. This is where we are. This is what we're going to stand up for, because I want you to be successful. I want my kids to be successful. So sometimes you have to make that stand. And so Ephesians 6:13 kind of says this: having done all that you can, just stand. Just stand and know that at the end of this, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Even if we don't agree, it's going to be okay. Jeremiah 31:16-17 says is, your children will come back to you from the distant land of the enemy. There is hope for your future, says the Lord. Your children will come again to their own land. Listen, I'm a big believer, and I'm gonna interject this real quick. I'm not gonna talk about this a lot, but I'm gonna interject this real quick. We always hear about the prodigal son and his journey, and he goes off and finds the world, and he goes through all these different things, and then he kind of comes to himself, and he's like he wants to come back, and he figure out he couldn't make it in life by himself, so he comes back. So we talk about him a lot. Then we talk about the brother a lot. We talk about the brother and how he stayed at home, and how he didn't get to go here, he didn't get to go there, and he gets upset and he gets mad about his little brother coming back after he's broke and he ain't got nothing. He ain't got, I know that's not proper English, but he don't have anything. So now he's upset. But here, I mean, we do talk about the father a little bit, but I want to go to the point of, what kind of life did the father have to live with the son? Like, because if the son was bold enough to come to his daddy at a certain age and say, I want my money, can you imagine the life that he had to live with him? Like, come on, can we give some credit to the father? Like, the father didn't strangle that. Well, should I say strangle? I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said that. But the father, he didn't put him out. Like, the dad did not put him out. So we never talk about him as a father, what he had to do as a father to maintain his household, because I am sure that in the process of that young man living there, they butted heads. They didn't agree with a lot of stuff. He was just out doing his thing. He didn't want to listen to his dad. He wanted to do his own thing. And when his time came to leave, he said, I'm jetting. Like, I'm going to get out. But here's the funny part. That joker couldn't even jet on his own. He needed his daddy's money to let him jet. And here's a kicker. Now, listen, y'all. Here's the kicker. To me, I think this is the kicker of the whole story, that, there is a great biblical lesson in there, which I'm not going to deny, but here's the kicker of the whole story. The dad didn't say no. The dad was like, yeah, let me give you this money so you can get on up out of here. So the dad was like, he probably came and asked him, and his dad was like, here you go. Take this money, get on up out of here. Because dad was probably like, you know what, you done took me through enough, but you know what, I still love you enough to be on the lookout for you almost every day. So that's the beauty of the parenting, is that the dad was bold enough to say, hey, go do your thing, but you know what, I also love you enough to be on the lookout for you, because just in case you don't make it, I'm still going to be here. Hey, listen, as a parent, that's what we do. We tell our kids, go do your thing. But you know what? I also know that in the process of you doing your thing, there's going to be some things that ain't going to go right. But guess what? I'm still here. Not, when they come back, it's not this, I told you so. I knew you wasn't going to make it. Didn't I tell you? Why did you listen to me? They already know. That's why they back. I mean, they already know. So you don't even have to say that, or when they do something and it don't work out, you don't have to remind them that it didn't work. They already know that. So I want to say, how many times as parents do we give up on our kids because we can't see the finish line in them right at that time? So a lot of times we just give up, like he's no good, or he ain't gonna never make it, or here's the worst one, man. I'm telling you, here's the worst one. This is the worst one that I hate to hear, when I hear mama say, you just like your daddy, you just like him, you just like your daddy. Well, then if you keep telling him that, what he gonna be like? He gonna be just like his daddy. So then how does he move forward from that? We have to remember, don't give up on our kids. Even though we can't see the finish line in them right at that time, we have to always maintain there's going to be a finish line, and it's going to be okay. We just have to keep moving through that process. I mean, we as parents, we go through our own 11th hour with our kids, because there's decisions we got to make. I mean, we got to understand that sometimes as parents, our 11th hour is just being a parent. Like, do I continue this thing, or do I get this thing up? Do I stay around, or do I go somewhere else? Sometimes we do. As parents, man, we have our own 11th hour that we go through with our kids. And it's a challenge, especially when they start pushing back. When they start pushing back, or they start questioning some of our parenting skills, we have to make a decision. Are we going to, I don't, let me say it like this. It's not that, I'm the parent and you're the child. It's like, how can I parent my child in a way that they understand that I am the adult? So, because, sometimes it's like it's a push and pull. It's like either you do what I say, or there's going to be a problem. So, as a parent, we have an 11th hour. We got to make a choice. We got to make a decision. How are we going to parent? Are we going to parent in a loving, concerned, graceful way, or we just gonna throw the hammer down? Like, I'm the parent, you just do what I tell you to do, don't ask no questions. Well, I think what God really wants to do is we got to do a little bit of both. It's not one or the other. It's not being this loving, overwhelming kumbaya parent where we just let our kids do whatever they want to do. But then we also can't be this hammer either. We can't be this hammer where we hammer it down and we don't give them no space. I think God wants to find us somewhere in the middle where we do discipline our kids, but we also love on our kids. We make this stand about our family, but then we also love them through the stance that we're making. It's not easy, but you got to remember that at this time we have to step up and show them that making a stand for what is right for them and our family, that's what's up. I mean, we're trying to teach them, like, this is what our family do. This is what we do. This is family. This is what we do. And making that stand sometimes it's not always that easy, but if we do that in the right way, we can show them that this is what's up, this is what we do as a family, and this is how we make this thing work. So that's always the challenge, is like, how do we balance that out? And I'm telling y'all, as a parent, if you're not a parent yet, keep working on that thing, because when you become one, you're going to have to figure out where is that balance. I don't want to be too much this way, and I don't want to be too much this way. I want to be somewhere in the middle where I can make this thing work. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes they kids, man, it seems like, it's like my kids, they know my buttons. It's like they ask God, what's my daddy's buttons? Like, God, what's his buttons? Because I want to push all of them today. And I'm telling you, sometimes they push them. They'll push all of them jokers, but I have to know and understand, they're just in the process of growing up, and they're just in the process of trying to figure things out. Hey, listen, James Baldwin, he said this right here. He said, children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them. Oh, dude, that is so dope. It's like I know my kids don't listen to me that much, but I tell you what, them jokers gonna do what I do. They gonna imitate me. Because my favorite saying is this. I don't even remember where I heard this from. I heard it from somewhere. Kids don't listen with their ears, they listen with their eyes. That's what they listen with. I don't care what you tell them, they're looking at what you're doing. So we have to remember that they may not be good at listening, but yes, Lord, they're very good at imitating you. So if he's just like his daddy, there's got to be a reason why, because I ain't even gonna go there. I might get in trouble. I'm not even gonna go there. But you need to watch what you say. Frederick Douglass says this. He said, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Hey, listen, it's our job to build our children. It's a joy. It really is. It's a joy to build our children, because we get to see them go through all these changes, and we get to see them discover the world in a new perspective, in a new way. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy for them. It's not always easy for you. It's not always easy for our families. But what we're discovering is that if our children do make some mistakes, because they're going to make some mistakes, they're going to make some real bad mistakes, they're gonna make some little bitty mistakes. But you know what? I'm gonna do the same thing as a parent. I'm gonna make some seriously bad mistakes as a parent. I'm gonna make some little bitty mistakes. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this thing together. And if we learn to do these things together, then I'll say this. If we do these things together, I promise you can see some things going, flowing different within your family. I think I remember the last time we had this conversation, I talked a little bit about this, is that, as a parent, we are a leader. We do make decisions in our home. We do come together and try to make this thing work. But at the end of the day, they got to see you doing it. I mean, I just don't want to hear you tell me that you're doing it, but I also want to see you be able to do it. And I also want to be able to, I want to be able to see you do it with some love and affection, not just with the hammer, because, my mom, and I go back to my mama, and anytime I have this conversation, I'm always going to say this, because I just think it's just the coolest thing. My mom raising 5 kids by herself, back in the, late, I'm going to say when I was born I'm going to say back in the 70s and the 80s, raising 5 kids by yourself, that could not have been easy for her. And then she had to work and go do her thing. That couldn't have been easy for her. But she could have ruled with an iron fist, which she did sometimes. But a lot of times, like I said, it wasn't the iron fist. It was just, let's have some conversations. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on, because I think I could get through to you better if I just talk to you. Now, my mama, when she was tired and she was fed up and she didn't want to hear nothing, oh yeah, nah, it wasn't no talking, like none. It wasn't no talking at all. But I understand that. I understood that. But I think she raised all of us very well. I think she did, a great job with, I'm gonna say, most of us. My brothers and sisters, they probably like, well, which ones you talking about? But no, she did a good job with all of us. And that's one of the things that I did take away from her, is that, having conversations with my kids is so important, because my prayer is that they would eventually do the same thing when they have children, is, have these conversations, which is the love and the understanding of what you're doing, but also have this stand where this is what we're not going to do. This is what we're not going to accept. And this is what I want for my family. So in the end, to be a parent who is willing to stand for your children, stand for your family, and for your community, because I want my kids not only to have a great family, but I also want them to be productive in the community. That's really, at the end of the day, that's what we really want. I don't just want them to have a great family, but then not be productive in the community. I want them to be able to do both. I want them to be able to have the joys of having both parts of their lives. And because I feel like I have that now. I mean, I really do. I feel like I have that now. Now, I'm going to tell you now, I don't have the perfect family. I don't think anybody has the perfect family. I think we may feel like we have the perfect family. I know you may have a good family, but the perfect family, I mean, there may be. I don't know. I may be overstepping my bounds. I don't know. But I know I have a good family. I mean, I have a good family. I mean, we do well as a family. We love each other. We try to encourage each other. We try to be there for each other. And I know you say try. Well, hey, we're not perfect, so we do the best we can. I try to parent to the best that I can because I want my family to know who I am, who I stand for, and what I believe. And so, and I do that, and I do that through love, and I do that through grace. I do that through mercy, and the biggest thing, man, I do that through conversation. So I want to end with this. Luke 21:9 says, "Stand firm, and you will win." Just stand firm and you will win. Hey, listen, I think our kids really look for that. They look for somebody who's not going to waver back and forth because, they get a lot of that in the world today. Because one day, she's my friend and tomorrow she's my enemy. One day he my boy, the next day he my enemy. They're looking for somebody that's going to stand, you know. And I just think as parents, if, like Luke 21:9 says, if we just stand firm, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win our children, and they're going to understand that we love them. We love them, and we want them to have a future. And more than anything else, we want to see them shine. So, as a fellow parent, I want to encourage all parents to stand for what you feel is best for you and your children. Just trust God, for the end of the results is going to come, and find the joy in being a parent. Find the joy in being a parent. For you, what does that joy look like for you? What's the joy that you see in parenting? Because it's all going to change. The joy that you have with your 0 to 5-year-old is not going to be the same joy you have from your 5 to 10-year-old. And you say, well, what are we supposed to do if they just out there just wilding? Man, come on, what can we do? What can we do? How can we make that, in a way that maybe that's not what they're doing? But, if that's the case, then that would be for everything in the world, for every decision out there that's going on in the world. What's the joys? How can we find the joys in the day? I've had some bad days. I'm not going to disagree. I've had some bad days, but I've always tried to find the joy in every day. And where I got that from, now I call him my uncle, but he's probably not my uncle, but he's just a cousin of mine. But I love him to death because I love his spirit. I love his spirit. And he still gets out. I mean, he's probably, I'm going to say if he's not in his late 70s, he's probably close to his 80s right now. But he's still out kicking it. Like, he's still cutting grass and he out fixing stuff. And man, every time I see him, he has such a great spirit. He's always laughing. He's so jovial. He's having a good time. And so I was like, man, how do you do it? Like, how do you get out and do the things that you do at the age that you are? And he says this. He says, I try to find the joy in every day. Every day. He said, even if my day don't go the way I want it to go, I still try to find joy. Hey, listen, and I want to encourage you parents. Hey, your parenting or your kids may not be going the way that you want them to go, but find the joy in your parenting. Find the joy in your parenting. And I promise you, you'll feel a lot better. Even when things are not going right, find the joy in being a parent. Hey, listen, that's all I got. It's your boy, Pastor Mike. Check us out on social media. Hey, let me give you this phone number. If you have any thoughts or concerns or anything, it's 615-295-8785, 615-295-8785. Hey, leave us a comment. Go to our podcast, like the podcast. If you like it, share it, and then subscribe, because I would love to hear back from anybody or anyone about, some of the things that we talk about here. I've had some feedback before, been some good feedback. I appreciate it. I want to keep doing this. But man, let me know what you think. It's the 11th hour with your boy, Pastor Mike. Go make moments, go make movements, not just moments. See, it's been a long time since I've been on the mic. Go make moments. Go make movements. I need some help over here, man. What's going on today? Go make movements, not just moments. This your boy, Pastor Mike, and I'm out. Peace.